Please welcome Colin Quincy.
Thank you, Yudi. It was very interesting as we're all here to network. The first reaction for the network was, oh no. I thought, well, there's obviously some training and some opportunity here. There you go. Now, what is networking? Networking is just another form of communication. People say, what do you do? Public speak. Well, public speaking is more than standing up here and speaking to a group. It's about having that one-on-one conversation when you meet somebody for the first time at a networking event. It can be daunting. But it's your communication skills that are paramount. And certainly, one of the things that underpins every form of communication without question, right, is psychology. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I have the obligatory first question. By a show of hands, who in the room are in sales? 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Fantastic. Do you know what? I couldn't have planned that response any better. And let me tell you, for the people that put your hands up, congratulations. For the rest of you, you need to listen more intently than you had thought you were going to listen. Because here's the thing. Every single last one of you are in sales. Why are you in sales? You're selling yourself. You're selling your ideas. You're selling your concepts, whether it be in business, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's trying to get your children to go to bed. Pack their toys up. I hear some laughter. Clearly people are challenged with getting their kids to go to bed. I'm going to encourage you that whilst you're not a professional salesperson per se, you need to get better at your communication skills if you wish to be a better and more successful networker. The two go hand in hand. This is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you about the how. I'm going to tell you about the where you need to go. And I'm going to tell you how to nurture those contacts. So when you first make those contacts, how can you engage them? How can you keep them interested? How can you keep them entertained with what you're doing? Now, what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to share with you today is part of the bigger picture, my influential speaking and communication program. Because as I said in the beginning, communication is paramount to understanding and your ability to network, whether that's in a group of people that you already know or that you think you know, or in a group of complete strangers. These are other components that are part of that program which are absolutely paramount. Building rapport, your ability to speak off the cuff with impromptu speaking. So there's 14 additional pillars as part of my program which form part of my training. But of course, there's only 3 that I'm going to talk about today. So let's talk about the how. Psychology, as I said at the beginning, is paramount to everything. It's a bit like having a crystal ball. If you understand how people interpret and process messages, it's kind of like being able to read their minds. It's kind of like cheating. Now, whether you like to acknowledge it or not, you've got less than 30 seconds to make an impression, good or bad. It all happens subconsciously. You may or may not be aware of it. And to battle test this, I'm going to ask you to remember a time where you met somebody for the first time and within 30 seconds you thought, oh God, where is the door? Or, hey, I think you're really cool. I think we can have a nice conversation. Am I right or am I right? Now that's all happening subconsciously. But it's absolutely paramount to understand how that works. Now, Albert Mehrabian, who was an Iranian psychologist in the US back in the 60s, did a study. And he found that your 55% of your value judgment of another individual is purely based on how they look. Nothing to do with what they sound like, nothing to do with what they say, purely based on how they look. Now, again, to battle test this, every one of you in here made a value judgment of me when you saw me for the first time. Now, whether it was conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter. You made a value judgment. And I'm hoping that the majority of you looked and go, okay, this guy's had a shave, he looks like he showered, he's wearing a nice suit, the shoes are polished. I think this guy's going to be good. And I hadn't said a word. I couldn't have been able to string two words together, but straight away, 55% of your value judgment is based purely on the way somebody looks. Now, the same thing applies when you're networking. Clearly, if you're in an event and somebody is looking at you in odd ways, whether they're not engaged via their eye contact, obviously masks are an issue nowadays, but you make that judgment straight off the bat. If you're going up to meet somebody for the first time and you're all like, oh my God, I'm really shy, why do they want to talk to me? And it's this, what do you think that other person is going to be thinking of you? No authority, no credibility. So that first impression, that 30 seconds or less than 30 seconds that you've got, your appearance, your body language speaks volumes. 55%, more than half for the accountants in the room. What happens when you go to a networking event? What's natural? Hi, my name's Con. Hi, Con, what do you do? Well, let me tell you, I've got a public speaking business and I'm really, really good and I think you should buy my product because you all need it and I can make you all really, really good speakers and I'm fantastic and please, please buy my product. And what's happening? The other person is going, where's that door? Okay, what's happening is that you're triggering, if that's what you do, and it's human nature. People want to talk. You're triggering the amygdala, the fight or flight response. The body's flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, and it's preparing the person to either run. They're seeing it as an opportunity or a threat. Now, the brain's a cognitive miser. It doesn't want to waste energy. It doesn't want to waste time. So if the amygdala's triggered, it's game over. Nothing else matters. You could have the best product in the world. You can be the CEO of the biggest company in the world. They're not going to give a rat's bazooka. You're done. You're cooked. The key is to be interested, not interesting. It's about the other person. I'm up here speaking now. It's not about me. This is about the value that I deliver to you guys as an audience. When you're networking, it's important that you're listening intently to understand, what does that person do? What are their hobbies? What sports do they like to play? Because when you're listening, you're learning so much more. People want to talk about themselves. They want a gas bag. How many times, hey, what are you doing on the weekend? Well, let me tell you what I'm doing on the weekend. I'm going to play footy and then I'm going to do this and then we're going out Saturday night and have you seen my new car and have you seen this and have you seen that and that's fantastic and they just want to. And here's the thing. Let them. Because that's when you're learning. I love my little doggy. We're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. and we need to use them in those proportions. Listen more, speak less. If you're listening, you're learning about, can I help that other person? Does my product add value? Is there an opportunity that we can work together? Is there an opportunity for a joint venture? Are they going to be a good fit for my organisation? Do I see these people or this person as a potential new employee? And if you're doing all the talking, guess what? You're not learning anything. And you won't remember what their interests are. You won't remember what their hobbies are. You won't remember what really, really floats them. You're all certified practicing accountants, I'm assuming, being here. But every single one of you, without exception, has something that you're even more passionate about than accounting. Without question. And I'm going to be able to make a stronger, more impactful connection with you guys, or you, if I know what really floats your boat. Do you like to travel? Do you like swimming? Listen more, talk less. One of the challenges, without question, is being able to maintain a conversation. It's all well and good we go, hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks. What's your name? Con. Awkward pause. What's your name? John. Further awkward pause. We need to be able to continue that conversation to create that meaningful connection. And one of the ways we do that is to ask open-ended questions. Questions that require a deeper, more meaningful response than yes or no. Not, what did you do today? Oh, got up and had breakfast. Wow, okay. Next. How was breakfast this morning? Good. Tell me about what you had for breakfast this morning. Oh, I had cereal, I had milk. Milk, fantastic. What kind of milk do you use? Yeah, white milk. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of it, but do you like lactose intolerant? Do you like almond milk? You get it? You've got to ask questions, right? How? How did you do that? Not what did you do? I went swimming, fantastic. Well, how do you do it? Like, where do you go? You're looking for more information from them to be able to establish whether there's a connection, whether you can make that connection. Avoid controversy. There's lots of stuff going on in the world at the moment, which I'm not even going to touch on. It's not the place, if you're at a networking event and your intent is to meet somebody for the first time, to try and engage and widen your circle, your network, partaking in controversial subjects. You know, they used to say, never talk about sex and religion and politics. So now it's don't talk about sex, religion, politics, COVID, and God knows whatever else. You don't know what the other person's view is. And they may have very well good reasons why they have that particular view. And when you're networking, it's not about judgment, it's about trying to understand what their perspective is. What's at the core? Why do they have that view? Not about judgment of why they have that view. And of course, the inevitable question. So, what do you do? What emotions are you evoking in the other person when you tell them what you do? Because here's the thing, marketing 101. People don't buy a product, they buy a feeling. They don't buy Coca-Cola because it tastes good. They buy Coca-Cola because their marketing department is amazing, and every Coke commercial that you see, somebody's having a barbecue, they're jumping off into this crystal blue water, they're driving around in their nice car, the family's around. What emotion are you evoking? What we're looking for is create curiosity. We want them to go, wow, how do you do that? That sounds really interesting. Because if you tell somebody you're an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor, wow. What emotion is being generated? What interest is being generated when you tell them what you do? The object, the number one object out of your elevator pitch or whatever you like to call it, is for the other person to want to go, how do you do that? Why do you do that? That's really interesting. Tell me more. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, I'm a tax accountant, so tax isn't really sexy and exciting. But how stressful is it if you haven't done your tax? And how stressful is it when the ATO's knocking on the door and going, hello? Instead of I'm a tax accountant, how about I help people relieve the stress around their financial affairs? There's going to be far more interest and far more desire for somebody else to want to listen to you and learn more, or indeed to continue that conversation, which then gives you the opportunity to learn more about what they do, to see, is this an opportunity or a threat? Is there an opportunity for a joint venture? Is there an opportunity for, for whatever? Let's talk about the where. Where do they hang out? Who are you looking to network with? Are you looking for fellow business associates? Are you looking for prospective employees? Are you looking for a new prospective employer? What are you looking for? Now, I'm sure as part of your training and as part of the accounting profession as a whole, there's some guidance in terms of you need to begin with the end in mind. So what is your objective? And work backwards from there. Networking is no different. Networking for the sake of networking, okay, you might meet a new friend and you might accidentally stumble on something, but it needs to have a purpose. It needs to be outcome driven. Where are they hanging out? There's a plethora of breakfast meetings, absolute plethora. You look on LinkedIn, right? You can go to a breakfast every day for the rest of your life. Have a look at them, see where they are, try them. Clubs. What sort of clubs? What interests do you have? And where do you think your like-minded people would go as well? Sporting clubs? Is it hobby clubs? Is it public speaking clubs? Where do the people that you want to engage with hang out? Sporting events. Always meet people at sporting events. Enemies in the first place sometimes, but you get over it. And of course, there's networking, there's a multitude, there's a plethora of business networking, such as BNI. Now, there's a cost attached. You can go free for a couple of times. BNI is a bit hardcore. It's really outcome, like results driven. You know, once you join, you've got to get a certain amount of leads. You've got to speak to a certain amount of people, a certain amount of guests. So it's pretty hardcore if that's not for you. But there's a multitude of other business networking establishments that you'll find people. And it's about exploring. It's not you go to one and then you leave it. Keep trying, see what works for you. Ultimately, you have to feel comfortable. But at the same time, you need to step out of your comfort zone as well. You know, one of the things about networking, if you've got support with a friend or another work colleague, the danger there is that you become quite insular and you're only talking to that work colleague and you're not making that really necessary effort to speak to a stranger. Hi, my name's Con. Nice to meet you. You know, what brought you to this event? Social media, like it or not, has had an enormous impact on our lives. And ultimately, it's a double-edged sword. You spend too much time on it, it can consume you, you become non-productive, etc., etc. But if you use it wisely, it's an enormous tool. Now, you can't be on everything. You can't be on LinkedIn, well, you can. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, the list goes on. Where does your prospective target hang out? Now, some people will say, oh, you know, TikTok's for kids. Well, let me tell you, 15 years ago, they said Instagram was for kids, and I get more leads from Instagram than I do from anywhere else. Every time there's a new platform, right, the age demographic is down here, and as the platform matures, it goes like that. So, you know, 10 years ago, if you had said, oh, you're on Facebook, oh, that's for kids. But without a show of hands, and people may not want to admit it, I'd suggest that pretty much everyone in this room is on Facebook. Okay, one lady's shaking her head in the corner, fantastic. That's cool, that's fine. But here's the thing. Social media exposes you for what you really are. And employment companies or human resources agencies or whatever you want to call them, this is their weapon of choice. Because you go in there and Con's wearing this really nice new suit, he's got shoes polished, he's eloquent, engaging and all those other wonderful aspects, and tells the interviewer that, yep, I'm really keen, I can talk well, like, family values are really important. And on my Facebook page, I've got photos of me partying in Cancun. You will be exposed. If you're going to get on the social media platforms, which is an absolute gold mine, gold, Jerry, where you can meet people who share the same interests, the same values, all those things. And it's not about sitting on there 24 hours a day, but just get on there. We understand how they think, we know where they're hanging out, and we've met them. What do? People deal with people to the extent that they know, like, and trust them. To the extent that they know, like, and trust. And you need to get them to like you and trust you. Because otherwise, if there is no trust, as in any other relationship, it's no good. on social media, comment, like, share. It's not, you can't just go on their post and expect people to go, that's fantastic, like, share, comment, and you sit back and go, this is pretty cool. You've got to be a participant. You've got to get involved. Like, share. Great comment, fantastic, John. Really like that. Good luck with that. You know, sorry that you're having a health issue, like, whatever. But be authentic. Don't do it because you think you have to do it. Because as I said, you will be exposed. And it's a bit like anything else. Trust, it's a bit like a vase. You break it, you put it back together, you can glue it back together, but it never, ever, ever goes back the same way that it was. Exchange details. Now, I've taken the liberty of having a business card in front of every one of you. Make sure you've got business cards with you. It's important. If you haven't got them, get them. If you think, oh, I don't need a business card, well, guess what? Like I said right at the beginning, this isn't about you, it's about the other person. Don't be caught short. Always have business cards with you. Always. Who's on LinkedIn by show of hands? Okay, for those of you that aren't, get on it. Now, there's a beautiful little feature right in the top right-hand corner, a little QR code. Is everybody that is on LinkedIn aware of that feature? No? Okay. Pull your phone out. Go to LinkedIn. Right. Top right-hand, right smack in the middle, it says search. Right next to it, there's a little QR code symbol. Everyone see it? Touch that symbol. And it's got my code or scan. So share my code. So later on, I'm going to be going up to people, I'm going to be inviting them to be part of my network. And all they're going to do is get their QR code, their scanner out, and I'm going to go click, and it's done. How easy is that? How easy is that? There's absolutely no excuse now to not be able to easily, conveniently share your contact details. All right, we can deal with it a bit later on now, folks. All right. This isn't an interactive workshop. So there's a really, really easy way for you to be able to exchange details with somebody. Now, don't be offended if they say no. It's not the end of the world. Because I'm sure out of 43 people in the room, somebody's going to say no to me. I'll hunt you down, but you can say no. But put yourself out there. And here's the secret sauce, the follow-up. It's all well and good to go, you know, it's a bit like meeting the girl or boy first time. If you don't follow up, if you don't ask for the order, it just ain't going to work. How can we do that? Email. Hey Lucas, great to meet you at such and such an event. Hope you're doing well with that venture that we discussed, and I look forward to catching up in the near future. Now, these contact points will be based on the extent of your connection at the event. If it's a fleeting, how you going, John? Nice to meet you, and it's 3 seconds about the wife and the kids and goodness knows whatever else, then your email will be quite brief. Hey John, great to meet you at the event. I certainly got a lot out of it. Hope you did too. Wasn't that Con Kutzika speaker fantastic? Yep, great. And look forward to seeing you at the next event. Easy. If you got more information out of them with regards to what they do and it was a more meaningful conversation, then fantastic, Lucas. I wish you well with your management degree or whatever it is. Send them a text. Everybody texts nowadays. God, this is why, in general, people are such terrible communicators. The art of face-to-face, having a conversation, albeit mask imposed, is just lost. We just rely on these devices. Now, it's okay every now and then, but eventually, you got to do this. You got to look them in the eye and you got to have a conversation. Organise to catch up for a coffee. Hey Lucas, fantastic, really looking forward to hearing about what you did. Mate, I happen to be around where you work tomorrow or next week. Would you like to catch up for a coffee? What's he going to say? Yes or no? No harm, no foul. But be interested, like I said before. The key here is be interested in what they do, what they say, what their interests are. Invite them to attend an event. Hey Lucas, fantastic, it was great to meet you at such and such an event. Just letting you know, if you're free, we've actually got another event in 3 months' time at such and such a venue, and I think there's speakers are such and such and such and such, and I think you'd get really good value out of the content. Would you like for me to put you on the guest list? You're adding value to what he's doing. It's not, hey Lucas, would you like to come to that event because I want to pick your brains about who I can work in the government so I can get some funding for my project, and I don't really care what you do because this is just about me. I want to make some money. Industry updates are a great way of connecting. Hey Lucas, just came across this really interesting article about management accounting. I thought I'd share it with you. Might be of interest to you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Cheers, Con. Post it on LinkedIn to your connections. All right. LinkedIn's more of a. The intent was a professional platform. There is a little bit of sneaking in of people posting other photos and content which is not necessarily relevant, but it is what it is. It will change, it will evolve. But stick to business stuff. All right? If you want to send them a Facebook friend request as well, if you've got mutual interests, whether it's sporting clubs or hobbies or whatever the case may be. And one of the greatest things that helped me in my business career, one of the greatest things, is if people came to me for my product or service and I knew that I couldn't help them, I didn't just say, oh look, that's not really what I do, I can't help you. I made a point, if I had somebody in my network that I knew either could help them or knew somebody who could help them, I would tell them. Hey John, look, I'd love to help you, but it's really not something that I'm focused on at this point. But Lucas is he's the gun, he's the bomb when it comes to that stuff. How about I put you in contact with Lucas? Add some value. And my final message to you here, step out of your comfort zone. You can't expect to go to events, networking in any way, shape or form if you're going to meet people for the first time that isn't going to create a level of uncomfortableness. It just doesn't happen. You're not going to sit back at home and meet a whole heap of new people, unless of course you're permanently on social media. And I mean, I've met on social media, I've met some amazing people who I've had the pleasure of interviewing on my podcast. So don't ever discount social media. But again, it's got to be authentic. And one of the other things that I didn't have in the slide presentation, we say small talk, some people go, oh, I don't like small talk. Well, guess what? Be the master of small talk. That doesn't mean know everything about everything, but know a little bit about a lot. Hey, did you read in the paper today about such and such? Or, you know, what do you think about the federal budget? Whatever. Know something about stuff that's going on. As I said again, stay away from controversial stuff. We don't want to deal with that. But know stuff. If they're interested in sport, know who won the games on Saturday. Doesn't mean you have to know everything about it. I've had conversations, I'm a sporting fanatic, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And my knowledge of certain sports is probably at a higher level than the average punter. But I've had meaningful conversations with people that don't know anywhere near as much, but they know enough to have a conversation. Now, before I finish and we take Q&A, this wasn't something, because it's part of the 14 pillars of my program. One of the biggest things, and this is the freebie for today, is voice. The meta message is in the voice. If people can't hear you or can't understand you, no value. So for those of you who are softly spoken, I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to suggest to you that you do some work in that area to improve your vocal projection, your tonality to be interesting. Because if I'm sitting here and I'm talking like this all the time and it's fantastic, and let me show you the graph about last year's profits, and we made a lot of money and it was fantastic, and geez, I'm so excited to be here, and everyone's asleep. Put yourself out there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.